Dr. Obama,
So,
thank you so much for taking time to speak with us today. Um, would you please tell us what led to the violence and the deadly events in Kenya this week?
I think it's the frustration that, in particular, the young people are feeling with our economic situation now. And it's been a build-up because many families are really struggling financially. Many young people are struggling because there are a huge majority of our population, 80%, are under 35. And of those, the millennials and the Gen Zs are about 50%, a little bit more than 50%. And of that, half of those don't have work. And the government is introducing through the financial bill new taxes to tax people a lot more than we're already being taxed. And people feel the pressure already. And the taxation is reaching the point where even if you are not employed, you're likely to be taxed.
During this part of our interview with Dr. Obama, we had some connection issues and we lost the video of something she was saying. And what she said was very important. She said essentially the government is offering loans to young people to pay their taxes before they even get a job. So they'll start their lives indebted to the government.
It's not just affecting the young people, it's also affecting us older. I call us Gen Wazee, the generation of old people, because Wazee means old people in Kiswahili. And we're affected as well. If you take the bill that was going to be passed to start taxing ancestral land, which is a freehold, and making the families pay a certain amount, and if they don't pay it, at some point the government is able to take away your land. In the rural area, and that is 70% of our population, live in the rural area on ancestral land that they don't pay any tax, no rent, nothing on. And that is their only way of surviving because they live off that land. They're subsistent farmers. And this bill was going to affect that. So going out on the streets, those young people are going out on the streets for all of us. And they're enraged. I mean, 7 days of rage is what they called it, because they're enraged at what's going on with their country. And the worst part of it is that we are heavily indebted as a country. And these debts have been incurred by our governments without any doing of the citizens. The young people are saying these are not our debts. You incurred them. And this is actually, it applies to me too. You incurred them without any consultation with me as a citizen, your employee, or your employer, sorry, without any form of citizen participation. And now these debts are being called in by the IMF. And in the shortest of time, in order to recoup the money to pay those debts, you are now trying to tax the citizens with no explanation. You didn't walk the walk with the citizens. So now to expect the citizens to pay for your debts is actually what the young people are saying is unacceptable.
Mhm.
And they're refusing to accept this situation.
There have been a lot of young people that have been victims of the violence there and older folks too. But it's not just been in Nairobi, it's been across the country based on what we've seen here. Can you give us a sense of how widespread it is and how many victims there are?
Thank you for that question because internationally, the focus has been on Nairobi, and the impression is given that there are only a few deaths in comparison to the demonstrators. About 20 something young people have died. And actually, surprisingly, when our president was giving his speech after the demonstrations on that same evening, he was talking about 6 people. And I was really surprised because everybody was aware that there were more people who had died. But it's not just Nairobi. You have the protests happening in Mombasa, in Kisumu, in Kakamega, in Eldoret, the president's own backyard where he comes from. And there's a small location just outside of Nairobi called Githurai. And in this place, a lot of young people died. And they died because as people left the city center in Nairobi, because we knew that the parliament had been stormed and we were sure that it would get more violent, we were sending young people home. We were telling them, go home, go home. And as they went home, because there were no cabs, no taxis, they had to walk home. And as they were walking, it seems, and this is what the word is out, that they were being followed. And in Githurai itself, the police opened fire and killed very many young people. And what I believe and I think is that because a lot of the younger people, the younger, younger than 18, who are not able to come to the demonstrations now that the older ones were coming home, must have probably met them and walked with them. And these young people got killed because what we've been hearing is that children are being killed younger than 20 years old. I think the oldest person who died was about 20. Maybe there's some older. I'm not sure. We don't really have the figures because it's being kept quiet. But I know that it's more than 100 people who have died in this area. So the figures are not yet out, and actually this community was saying, bring us our children, bring us our young people so we can count them, so we can talk about the numbers and say, why did you kill these young people who are just walking peacefully, demonstrating to have their voices heard, exercising their constitutional right?
So we have heard today that this bill has been withdrawn by the president. Is that accurate? And is that too little, too late? Or what's your view on that?
I think everybody's saying it's too little, too late. But beyond that, the too late is what we have to emphasize, because the president cannot on his own withdraw the bill, because there's a process. We have a very strong constitution that outlines exactly the procedure that is needed to be taken if you want to withdraw a bill. And among what has to happen is that the National Assembly has to sit again together, and the president has to declare that he has concerns about the bill and it needs to be withdrawn. He can't just withdraw it because he said he wants to withdraw it. I mean, thank God for that, because that means he himself is also subject to the laws of the country and our constitution. But what that means is that at the moment, as of I think the 26th, which is yesterday, Parliament is in recess. And I don't think they're coming back until, if I'm not wrong, 23rd of July. At least that is what has been published. And if they're not coming back but until then, in order to be able to withdraw the bill, because it was approved by Parliament on Tuesday, it's only a matter of 14 days. So from now to the 23rd, if you do the maths, we will not be in that time. So I'm not sure, because I'm not a legal person, what needs to be done, but it's not as easy as it's made out to seem. So the problem with that for our leaders is that the young people are not stupid. And they've done the maths. They are the ones who are informing us and telling us this is not possible because of XYZ. So they know already. So what they're saying, like you said, too little, too late, but also lip service. And this is where now our leadership has problems, because they've got to convince, because if they had believed them, the president stated this yesterday, today the young people are on the streets again. And the police were back, although he said he wants dialogue. He doesn't want violence. The police should be there to protect the young people and to protect property. The police are still throwing tear gas. The police are still shooting at the young people. So the young people have seen no difference, no change in what they experienced when they started protesting.
So at this stage, what must be done from your view to fix this situation?
It's difficult now because the young people are so enraged and because they don't trust our government. As far as they're concerned, they actually, for them, it's like a vote of no confidence with regards to not just the president, but to the whole government. And this is an issue because I don't know. I think the question should be asked to the leadership. What do they think they can do? Because the young people do not trust them anymore, do not believe in dialogue anymore. And to make a difference, and this is why I find it so unfortunate, because if even today, symbolically, when there was the demonstrations were going to happen anyway, the police should have escorted the young people, as in every other democracy, escorted the young people, let them demonstrate, let them walk, let them congregate we have a huge park called Uhuru Park, which means independence. Let them congregate there and let them then air their views. Let them talk about their grievances, let their leadership, because there is some form of leadership, the more outspoken young people, let them talk. The politicians don't even have to be there. And once they've aired their grievances, let them put together a petition, and they would have sent the young people home peacefully, and this they can then present to the president, who then accepts it, and we take it from there. But now, because none of this happened, and once again, we've experienced violence. Young people have been beaten up. Young people have been tear gassed. The police are extremely violent. And this is the problem, because they are taking orders. They sent out the army. How do you send the army out against young people protesting peacefully with banners and flags, a bottle of water and a whistle? And that flag is your flag, your nation's flag. So it's very hard for the young people to say, oh, yes, now we believe you. The government has been in position for 2 years only, 2 years, and already we have this situation. So, we have to rethink how we are governing and who we listen to, because I know that the government has pressure because we have this debt. But the young people are saying, we didn't incur the debt. We didn't ask you. You didn't ask us. And we
Yeah.
don't want to have to carry your burden. And the people you dealt with outside, the external factors that you are dealing with, we don't want to carry that burden. That is not our burden. We want our country back.
Yeah.
We want to be able to live in our country a dignified life and economically stable and secure.
Yeah. Two more questions, Dr. Obama. One, I'm going to ask you, but then I want to ask you a bit about your work, your everyday work, which is so
Yeah.
important there.
Yeah.
What message is it that you'd like to send to Washington and the rest of the world? And why is this important? Why is this something we need to pay attention to?
Well, for me, I always say, I do public speaking. So one of the things I always say, Africa is the future. Africa is the last bastion. It is going to be it is the bread basket of the world. And, we all know this because all of our natural resources, all of what the West needs to live the life they are living now, they are sourcing from Africa. So instead of fighting us, instead of keeping us down, instead of trying to keep us poor and step on our heads to get the fruits of our nation, talk to us because we're going nowhere. And if you talk only to our leaders who have not our interest at heart, who work with you because they want to have personal gain, you will not succeed, because in the whole of this continent, up to 80% of our population is under 35, and they are not stupid. And they are bright, and they know that they want a future for their country. And imagine, with all of that said, a lot of the movement has been pushed by the connectivity and being able to have access to digital information. And imagine on the whole continent, if I'm not wrong, you can correct me, I think we only have 14% connectivity on the continent. You all in the West have 100% connectivity. Now imagine when we get even half of that, if we double that and everybody knows what's going on. It's not a threat, it's just a fact. You need to start respecting Africans. You need to start respecting this continent, and you will not be able to plunder it ad infinitum. It will stop because the people are dying. The young people have reached a point where they are actually much braver than us. They are willing to die to stop this because they are getting nothing from it. The placard said, the fear is gone. I have nothing to lose, because they have nothing to lose, because they have nothing. And if you put them in that state, you enrich our leaders and you forget that a leader without a people is nothing.
That is an amazing statement there. And it is absolutely true. I mean, every single thing you said is true, and it needs to happen. You're doing some work there with your foundation that's positioning young people and people of all ages across Kenya to do exactly what you're talking about, is to take charge of their own future and themselves. Sauti Kuu, I believe I said that correctly. If I didn't, please correct me. Your foundation, what is it and what is it doing? And give us a sense of what your mission is.
Well, it's in the name of the foundation. It means powerful voices in Kiswahili. And as you can hear, I'm very passionate. I use my voice a lot in the meantime. I found my own voice, and I realize it's really, really powerful to say what you think. And that's what we teach the young people. We teach them confidence. We teach them to realize that they have to get skills. They need to be informed. We teach them that they need to look at the local resources that they have to improve their lives and not be dependent on external factors to support them and make them able to manage, because then they become victims and they are passive. They're not even recipients of help and are not able to form their futures. We create spaces to allow them to do that through education. We have a lot of activities around education, sports, cultural activities. We do a lot of cultural heritage activities to make them proud of their culture, because I see myself in all these young people. That's why I was demonstrating, because the young people I work with, they're 4 to 25. That is that age group. They're the ones who need to have powerful voices. My staff, 60% are Gen Zs and a few millennials thrown in. this is our future. And if and they are coming on strong, and they are asking what I had the privilege of being able to do, although my parents didn't find it very amusing. I always asked why. And that is what my foundation says. It tells the young people, you must ask why. You must understand what is going on with your life. You must know you're part of the decision-making process, and you must participate, be responsible, and also accountable for what happens to your life. So you also have to learn the power of no. So, I mean, many people would not be happy about that, people around my age. And I tell them, but a child can respectively say no if they can explain it, if they can account for it, and they can be responsible for it. But you must allow them to have a voice. And that's exactly what's happening in the last days. These young people are using their voices, and they're really peaceful. And this is what is breaking my heart, because children are being killed. They're being shot in the head, shot in the stomach, where the policeman who's doing that knows exactly what he's doing. He's going to kill that child. We were tear gassed for no reason. We were just walking. And it's crazy, crazy, crazy. And I don't understand it. If
Yeah.
you're a parent, you listen to your children as well. You must talk to them,
Yeah.
not to be estranged. And at the moment, our president is estranged from his young people, and they're the majority.
Yeah.
They're the ones who will vote him back in.
That is very, very dangerous for a politician to be estranged from young people. I mean, you're
Yeah, but
exactly.
the majority are. That's the problem. And they use force, they use fear, they use threats to quell them. But you know what? It'll always come out somewhere.
Yeah.
And when it does, it will explode if you don't deal with it. And this is what has happened in Kenya.
Yeah.
It has just exploded.